Badlands, running to Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
We've had enough. For centuries, men have been discriminated against, overlooked, and just downright forgotten. On Valentine's Day, men have bought chocolate, flowers, cards, and presents for the lady in their life, while men have got neglected. Never fear, ladies. This Valentine's, show the man you love you haven't forgotten him with a gift from Manly Cans. Manly Cans are gift cans for men, featuring local products and reusable packaging, with nationwide shipping and local delivery. Give that special man in your life the perfect Valentine's gift from manlycans.com.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Episode number 2 of MAHA Living here on Badlands Media. What is up, Nate Dogg?
It's a good day to be doing a MAHA Living episode.
It's a good day to have a good day.
It
All
is.
right, we are going to be diving into EMFs, electromagnetic radiation. I like to call it electrosmog, these fields that we're constantly bathing in, unfortunately. Hopefully we aren't. Hopefully you're doing something about it. So we're going to discuss what EMFs are, sources of them, what they do to us, and what we can do to mitigate the effects of this electrosmog, just get out of this radiation we're constantly bathing in. Little things we can do in our everyday lives, good habits, good behaviors to just sort of mitigate all the effects on us. So my question to you, Nate, is, are you sensitive?
You know, I don't know. I am sensitive. I have a heart. As far as EMFs, though, I don't think that I am, though I have met many people who are. I also don't live in a major metropolitan area, so I think that has an impact.
Yeah, totally. You're definitely in a more rural area, which is good.
Yeah.
I would say I am, particularly in big buildings or big cities. So I've been in hospitals or staying in hotels, or when I go to, like, I remember going to New York a year or two ago, and of course it's just awful there, and my sleep was trash, and staying in some hotel in a Chelsea area of Manhattan, it was yeah. So I would say I am. Plus, I can tell audibly when certain devices are plugged into the wall and getting electric current into them. So like video game systems or certain kitchen appliances, I can almost hear a very high-pitched ping. And I think it's because I'm blind as a bat, my eyesight sucks, that my body kind of, or my mind reorients some of that energy to my ears. So I have pretty good hearing. But yeah, man, I definitely do notice some sensitivity with certain devices and certain areas with a lot of Wi-Fi routers around or a lot of equipment around putting off EMF fields. And for me, it's sleep. Sleep is the biggest thing it affects.
When you are far out and far away from all of the smog, the electrosmog, is there anything specific that you notice or experience, like where you know that I'm free?
Oh, yeah. Sleep cycles improve, and then probably mood, less anxiety, less sort of mental fritz, I guess we could say. When I go on camping excursions or go out to farms out in the country or whatever the case, definitely relaxation improves and sleep cycles improve as well. So definitely something I think we should do is get back to nature, and as much as often get out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's an unfortunate fact of life that in order to incorporate with society, we have to be around these things. So definitely anything that we can do to relieve that stress is essential.
And these conveniences of our modern world are sold to us as if, you know, you're cool. You're cool because you have these devices, or You look at these like meta glasses and all these technological gizmos and gadgets that are sold to us to just distract us and entertain us like we are, stupid lemmings that just need to be entertained. Or it's how you plug into the modern world. You need all these devices, you need all these electronics so you can so you can just feel cool and feel like one of the important people in society. And it's really terrible. Or convenience culture. These smart devices and these electronics are sold to us because it'll make life more convenient. It'll make life easier for you. So get your smart microwave or smart gadgets. Have a smart watch on your wrist because you need to be plugged in all the time. It'll make life a lot easier because you can take messages right from your wrist. And because of this convenience culture and you got to be cool culture, we're really going down the path of sort of over technocracy.
Yeah, I think there's also another layer of it too, where it's like, I know for my business, I was one of those people who I didn't get a smartphone until it was like you couldn't find the other phones barely, like I was one of the last late adopters of smartphones. I think that there's like a certain layer of, in order to be a part of society, like for my business, for what we're doing right now, like we have to have Wi-Fi, we have to have computers, we have to have, I need that connection in order to maintain way of life. So it's kind of like we're all kind of forced to climb onto the rails at some point to a certain degree. So if that's the case, and this is the direction that the world is going, I think it's really important that we really start looking at the science of figuring out, one, what is it doing to our biology? And then two, how do we make safe devices so that we can operate without, suffering the consequences? I'm sure that where there's a will, there's a way that something could be done.
Right. What's it doing to us biologically?
Yeah.
And what's it doing to us mentally as well with the dopamine addictions and the scrolling addictions and everything. But that's a conversation for another episode. Although they're all just tools. Technology is great. Smartphones, computers, electric vehicles, whatever. They're great in some ways. They can also be bad in some ways. So it's just a tool. You just have to be smart with the tool. But here we're going to talk about the specific health effects of these things and things you can do to sort of un-EMF your life. So let's get into our slides here. Electrosmog, dangers of electromagnetic radiation and how to avoid it. First off, let's define what the electromagnetic spectrum is and take a look at some of these devices, the wavelengths that they operate at, and the differences in some of their radiation outputs. So we're not going to get too deep into the sciencey stuff in this episode. We could definitely go into exactly the gigahertz wavelengths and the size of the wavelengths and all of that. And each of these devices, the wavelengths they operate at, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. We're not going to get too deep, but we do want to show this graphic here just so you can get a visual understanding of different devices and the wavelengths they operate at. So let's start off with the visible light spectrum, which of course is a very small portion of the full electromagnetic spectrum, which really the full electromagnetic spectrum is essentially infinite, but we only visibly see a very small portion of it. And right above the visible portion is ultraviolet, X-ray, and gamma ray electromagnetic wavelengths. So above visible light, the wavelengths start getting a lot smaller and the energy starts getting a lot higher. Ultraviolet radiation comes from the sun, tanning beds. Certain ultraviolet radiation is healthy for you. It's good for you. Certain ultraviolet radiation is not so good for you, but it's really when you get up to the X-rays and the gamma rays where, that's why when you go into the doctor to get an X-ray, they put maybe a vest on you or something around your crotch to shield you from the X-rays, shield your important bits from them. And then gamma rays, which can come from celestial objects like the sun. Gamma rays also coming from nuclear radiation output. But X-rays and gamma rays and even certain kinds of ultraviolet rays are called ionizing radiation. And ionizing radiation is powerful enough where this kind of radiation will throw off electrons from biological atoms. So these do have direct harm to your DNA, and there is mainstream science out there that admits that, supports that. So ionizing radiation is publicly known as being a not good thing. And this is what you want to go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, have you seen some of the images when they were first working with X-rays and the technicians that were working with the initial, when they first started doing it and they weren't wearing protection, like what happened to their hands? It was, dude, it was disgusting. Like it was like, I mean, like literally like the skin was just sloughing off, and it was pretty gnarly before they started realizing, oh, hey, like, you know, messing with X-rays has physical harms.
Yeah. What a concept.
Yep.
All right. Now let's go under visible light into the non-ionizing spectrum of electromagnetic frequencies. And this is what encompasses most of the devices of our modern world. So just under visible light, you have infrared, which, you've got infrared like mats and health devices out there that can be beneficial depending on the wavelength. And then under that, you have the microwaves when the frequencies start getting a little longer. Under microwaves, you have radio frequencies, of course, AM, FM radio. And then under that, you have low frequency, very low frequency VLF, and then extremely low frequency ELF. And then most of our cell phones operate kind of in that microwave range, around 1 gigahertz. I think those are the bands that 4G, 5G, Wi-Fi operate on as well, is in the sort of gigahertz range, low gigahertz. You have radios, you have under that the wires, electrical wires, and then ELF waves. You're getting into like the electromagnetism that the Earth puts off with the Schumann resonances and everything. So you have a wide band of low frequency, non-ionizing radiation. Now, mainstream science claims that non-ionizing radiation is fine. It's totally safe. And I'm sure there may or may not be special interests with the telecommunications industry that pushes the government to claim that, which we'll get into. But non-ionizing radiation doesn't directly affect your DNA. So that's the basis of claiming Wi-Fi and cell phones and 5G is safe by health authorities and the government, is that, oh, it's non-ionizing, it doesn't directly damage your DNA, so it must be safe. But just because it's non-ionizing and it doesn't damage your DNA, that doesn't mean that it does not affect other systems of the body, whether it be enzymes, certain mineral channels, certain hormonal or neurological functions. So also it's very difficult to study this because you could, but it's very tough to create a control group. Because what are you going to do? Lock somebody in a box for 30 days and in a Faraday cage so they don't get any electromagnetic radiation from the outside world, and then pummel them with microwave frequencies or something? Like it's very difficult to have some kind of control and to study exactly which wavelengths affect humans. So that's one reason why science is difficult to come by. But then, of course, you have special interests out there that don't want it published, don't want it studied because they have, cell towers to put up and devices to sell. So
yeah, one of the biggest studies that has happened, I think it's called the NTP study, that was defunded. I believe it was like around 2010, 2012-ish. And they were making quite a bit of progress showing like significant research around the dangers of EMF. And that was put to a halt. So there's definitely some special interests that are trying to squash any forward movement with this.
Right. And there does appear to be some science in Europe. Certain European agencies have said that electromagnetic radiation is a, quote, possible carcinogen. So, Europe, they actually tend to be sometimes a little more forward thinking when it comes to food, when it comes to chemical dangers, radiation dangers. So there are some agencies out there around the world that do somewhat admit of the dangers of electromagnetic frequencies. But here in America, particularly, yeah, there's been some stifling of the research for a long time. So let's get into some historical information on this. Back in 1977, Dr. Robert O. Becker was actually interviewed by 60 Minutes about his research into the health effects of electromagnetic frequencies. What's the background on Dr. Robert Becker? Did you look into him?
Yeah. So Becker was doing, he had a whole history and research of basically looking at EMFs, the effects on biology. And so he was one of the first ones, as far as I could find, that blew the whistle on, hey, there's a chance that this is actually causing damage. And I wasn't able to verify this, but I saw from a couple accounts that apparently after this 60 Minutes report came out, it was about a week after, Becker lost all funding. And that's when, I mean, he was a very respected scientist, for lack of a better term. And his career was pretty much crushed after he came out and did this. So I was looking at some of his research papers, and it was pretty fascinating because he was talking about the effects of electromagnetic frequencies on human biology. And he was even tying it back to previous pole shifts and the effects on biology and what that meant for people as far as healing, effects on everything from like microbiota to what happens with your bone health. So pretty fascinating guy.
I didn't even realize he wrote the book, The Body Electric. I have that book.
Oh, do you?
And I've read a couple chapters of it. It's a really good book. I didn't realize he was the author of it. So Body Electric, Electromagnetism and the Foundation of Life. Very good book by Robert O. Becker, who has a background in electrophysiology and electromedicine. This is a bit of his background here. Born in New Jersey in the 1920s, he died in New York in 2008. He was an orthopedic surgeon and a researcher into electrophysiology, and he was known for his work in bioelectricity and leading the early opposition to high voltage power lines. One of the most influential figures in the area of anti-EMF activism. So, anyway, I'm going to play this video here, his interview from 60 Minutes, and then while this is running, I'm actually going to go over to my bookshelf and see if I can find that book real quick.
You're telling me there's a possibility that electric current generated in a fashion such as this could possibly cause heart disease and/or stroke?
Yes.
You have to know that that's a mind-blowing thought for a lot of people, including me.
I'm aware of that. I was a member of the first ad hoc committee to evaluate the biological studies that were performed for Project Sanguine. And I most certainly sat there and listened to several studies that had very definite effects, yes. Animals exposed grow at a slower rate than control animals. A number of projects have shown this to be true. The second area in which definite effects do appear is that exposure to this type of field seems to produce stress.
Is it true that the Navy repressed that report for better than 2 years?
The Navy did not disseminate the report widely. Human volunteers were exposed to the same sort of magnetic field that the sanguine antenna would emit. And there was a very definite indication that following such exposure for a 24-hour period of time, that these people experienced considerable elevations in their serum triglycerides. You know of, I believe it's 5 specific projects in which positive results were obtained when the projects were terminated and the money just disappeared. There was no more to continue the work.
Now, is this a definite pattern?
It appears to be.
That when a study begins to find that there may be adverse effects, that the money dries up?
Not even adverse effects, any effect. If a person has already publicly gone on record that the voltage field from a transmission line million times stronger than that from the sanguine antenna is harmless, then obviously he cannot do an about face and say the sanguine antenna may be harmful. So that a number of people on this committee, I would feel, have a pre-bias.
Is what you're trying to say that we're playing with a stacked deck?
I think so, yes.
So this time frame as well in the 70s, very important because this was sort of the precursor or the initial time frame of when sort of the research into cell phones began, right? And a lot more electrical transmission of our society, different energy technologies that were coming out, and a lot more infrastructure being built as well. So high voltage power lines, there is a lot of EMF radiation coming from those. There's a lot of studies into high voltage power lines as well, and people living within, I think, a few hundred meters of them, like 500 meters, do have an increase in hormonal dysfunction and neurological dysfunction. And then now we have, of course, cell towers everywhere and 5G towers. So
yeah,
looks like there has been suppression into the research. Also, Nancy Wertheimer, who linked magnetic fields to childhood leukemia, died back in 2008. I thought this one might have been a suspicious death, but it looked like she was 80 years old when she had died. So not too suspicious. That's a ripe age. But anyway, Dr. Nancy Wertheimer reported that children living near high current electrical wiring had a higher than expected rate of leukemia. And so, yeah, there's definitely research on this, but it's usually the either the UN agencies or the government agencies that squash that.
Yeah.
Squash the research into it. Here's RFK Jr. Speaking of which, somebody who's been sounding the alarm about EMF exposure. This is an interview of his from...
I think it was it's pretty recent.
Is this pretty recent?
Yeah. Like within the last week, I believe. Oh, maybe a little bit over a week ago.
Okay,
So
this video was posted. Yeah, this video was posted by Children's Health Defense on January 20th, but
I believe it's from January of this year.
Makes sense because on January 15th that we reported on MAHA News, so 12 days ago, about 2 weeks ago, it was announced that HHS quietly removed a web page on their website that says cell phones aren't dangerous. And then same day, it was announced by HHS that they're commissioning new studies into cell phone radiation, 5G radiation, and the like. So his interview here was probably right after this news came out. So let's check out this video from RFK.
How concerned should we be about 5G towers?
I'm very concerned about it.
So like 9, 10?
Calling it 5G is actually a misnomer because that doesn't have to do with 5G does not tell you what's wrong with EMFs. EMFs are bad depending on the pulse rates and the wavelengths, and some of them are very bad. And in Europe, the regulations are an order of magnitude lower than what we allow here. Mm-hmm. But there are literally over 10,000 studies that document a number of ill effects, including cancer, tumor growth.
Yeah, so 5G simply stands for generation. 4G, fourth generation. It's their generation of sort of uh, broadband or spectrum of wavelengths that they're utilizing to send data over. And 5G is utilizing wavelengths that are a lot smaller than 4G cell towers and 4G networks. So 5G networks, smaller wavelengths, they don't have as long of a range, but they're sending a lot more data over that field, that fifth generation 5G field than 4G. Now, the thing about 5G is because they're sending a lot more data over it and those wavelengths are a lot smaller, it has a lot more effect on what it comes into contact with. But 5G fifth generation devices and cell towers, because they don't have as long of a range as 4G, they have to put a lot more towers in. And, like every few blocks or something like that, instead of every few miles, like a 4G tower. So definitely health effects to study, right?
Isn't there some speculation that this 5G technology has the ability to basically work as almost like a radar, physical radar, to see through buildings, movement?
Well, they can already do that with Wi-Fi routers and Wi-Fi networks. So I'm not exactly sure what wavelengths are required or all the science behind it, but I do know that that ability or technology is already possible with Wi-Fi routers. I don't know if they're like have to be 5G, certain wavelength Wi-Fi routers or whatnot, but yeah, probably.
Yeah,
it's possible. So, I mean, we could go on and on about data security issues. We're kind of just looking at health effects in this show, but yeah, when it comes to especially 5G technology, but all of it, data security, what can they find out tapping into certain Wi-Fi routers or different smart devices and surveillance state and everything. So that's a whole other conversation that is related, but
and then you get into, like, you mentioned the density of the towers with 5G being a requirement. And I don't know if there's enough information out there for us to make any kind of leaps to conclusions, but of these towers actually being a weapon system, affecting mood, thought patterns. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. There is the data security issue of all these smart devices and 5G towers, 5G networks. And then there's also the more of the strategic weapon angle, like getting into the whole directed energy weapon conversation.
Mm-hmm.
What wavelengths and what sort of pulse or directed electromagnetic weapons are out there that they can utilize. Get into how do they utilize certain EMF spectrums for weather warfare and weather control. What can they do to the atmosphere, sending huge amounts of EMF power up into the upper atmosphere? What does that do to the water? What does that do to the condensates and the climate or the weather in a region? And then how are they utilizing the electromagnetic spectrum to send power through for laser type weapons or sonic weapons or the discombobulator weapon that was just, I guess, used in freaking Venezuela.
Yeah.
So they say. So a lot. There's a lot more we could converse about this, but
I mean, it's been shown that electromagnetic frequencies can induce certain states, like they can recreate almost a psychedelic experience with frequencies.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
We're not even getting into the whole voice of God or voice to skull technology, which they've had for decades, and certain mind control, subconscious control type technologies that they do with directed energy frequencies. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
There's a whole can of worms there.
Yeah, whole other conversation outside the scope of this show. So anyway, we have one more video to play here from RFK Jr. He was at the EMF Hazard Summit 2 years ago in 2024. And he says some very enlightening things about regulatory capture and special interest of studying EMFs by our health agencies. Apparently, telecom companies are quite corrupt in this regard, just like food and pharma companies.
You know, I can't help but think about when he's addressing EMF and these hazards, that behemoth, I would almost say, has more power and more to lose than pharma does. I mean, this is woven throughout society.
I know the telecommunications industry is quite large. So we have to take a quick mid-show break to shout out a couple sponsors. While we're doing that, can you look into how big of an industry per year revenue for telecommunications?
Yeah.
And compare that to pharma? Cool. So, what we got here is our friends from All Good. Gift your Valentine the All Good treatment. This Valentine's Day, show your love with premium clean skincare and hair care crafted from 100% grass-fed tallow and organic cold-pressed oils, zero parabens, sulfates, toxins, BPAs, or PFAS forever chemicals. Just real nourishing ingredients with zero junk, handcrafted in small batches by Jessica in sunny Florida, and packaged in amber glass jars for maximum freshness. It's all good inside and out. Try their lightweight, pure whipped tallow for deep all-day hydration, smooth and firm with the No-Tox smoothing serum, and revive your locks with the game-changing tallow hair mask for ultimate nourishment. Longing for the sun? For a limited time, score a free sample of All Good's tallow sunscreen with any bundle purchase just by using code Badlands at badlandsmedia.tv/allgood. Snag your discounted bundle curated for women and men, plus a free sample today, and feel good knowing your purchase supports the amazing creators at Badlands Media. That's badlandsmedia.tv/allgood. And I do love All Good's products. I use their whipped tallow every day. Great stuff. So, what'd you find?
So it looks like for telecommunications, it was around 2.1 trillion for 2025.
I think that is bigger than pharma.
Yeah, it looks like pharma was about 1.8 trillion in 20.
So a wee bit bigger than pharma is the telecom industry. And yeah, no doubt.
Well, that and like there's such an infrastructure that's been built on top of what they provide. It's massive.
Yeah, it's not just telecommunications, but if we're talking high voltage power lines, energy companies, then we're also talking tech companies like Apple that make all these devices, the infrastructure built on top of it, just like you say. So honestly, is from a money standpoint, way bigger than pharma. With every single little Wi-Fi device and smart devices, and holy crap, we're talking multi-trillions.
Yeah.
Worldwide, wild.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get into this RFK clip from the Health Hazard Summit here. We're going to play about 3 minutes of it, half-hour video, but there's two. We're going to focus on how he talks about it being owned by industry. So the special interest suppressing research into EMF waves.
On the wrist, or they need to be fined. When it comes to electropollution, though, I don't see the same treatment in the media. Are you seeing a kind of media blackout when it comes to EMF pollution in the media?
Yes, I am. We see that, the big, Verizon, AT&T, the other big communications companies have long controlled the media. And if you look at you think about what kind of ads you see a lot of on the media. One of them is, of course, pharmaceutical companies, and you won't hear bad things about pharmaceutical products that are made by those companies. And another of the major advertisers are the telecommunications companies. So last year, Verizon spent $100 million on advertising, TV advertising, etc. The telecommunications.
Well, also these TV channels we watch are literally owned by the telecommunications companies. And the Wi-Fi that we run on is owned by them too. Comcast, I believe, owned by AT&T, right? And I mean, when you're watching television that is owned by the telecom company that has a vested interest in you not knowing about freaking how their technology is harming you. Of course.
Yeah.
Of freaking course.
Communications industry, the other companies spent about $219 million. And that is and that kind of revenue is high enough for them to be able to dictate content on those news platforms. So the kind of coverage that they do get is coverage that is written by PR firms within those agencies, and they're puff pieces. I mean, within the industry, regulated industry, they're puff pieces, and it's the same thing you see for vaccines, for example. You won't see a critical story raising questions or issues or reporting vaccine injuries, and you will not see stories of about 35% of the public probably has some level of RF or EMF sensitivities, and about half of 1% are disabled by radio frequency pollution, by radio frequency. So, you won't see those injuries reported, and I see them all the time because I'm litigating on them. We have states and we have.
All right, there's one more clip I want to play here where he discusses exactly who controls the industry and the regulation of it.
To get that rating has to be very, very strong. So, for the FCC to pretend, and FDA, there's two regulatory agencies involved, because the FCC looks to the FDA for advice on health impacts. And the FDA is a corrupt agency from top to bottom, and it's corrupted by the pharmaceutical industry, but also by telecommunications. And the FCC is completely owned by the telecommunications industry.
Where do we?
The FCC won't let us be, man.
He says something pretty interesting. Is that right after this?
Okay.
How 8:43.
Play to 8:43.
Start at 8:43.
Well, the notes you gave me ended at 8:09, bro.
I know, but there's one more.
Now you're messing with me mid-recording, mid-show. All right. 8:43.
Cleaning it up and bringing back people's health in the forefront here.
It's, with the FCC, it's really, the old mantra that policy is personnel. There are other agencies that have these kind of perverse incentive systems that create entanglements between the regulatory industry and the regulators, particularly in the pharmaceutical industry. But FCC is really a matter of personnel. And all 6 commissioners on the FCC really have to go. They're all sock puppets for the industry. And then probably the top half of the FCC staff are in some ways in cahoots with the industry, and have been corrupted by the industry. And it's really a matter of choosing very, very good leadership and replacing a lot of that staff, in the various ways that you can do that. The staff needs to be. The staff is, I would say, generally speaking, the top half of that staff is working not for the public, but they're working for the industry they're supposed to be regulating.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That explains a lot of it right there. All right. Couple more articles on health effects, and then we'll get into discussing how to un-EMF yourself. Cell tower radiation linked to genetic changes in nearby residents. Senior European scientists are reporting that people living near cell phone towers show significant changes in their genetic makeup. First-time chronic exposure to cell tower radiation has been linked to unrepairable genetic damage. And this was in Slovakia, it looks like. They contend that years of low-dose radio frequency exposure can increase the incidence of a number of different type of chromosomal aberrations. So leading to issues all around.
And who knows how different this is now with the 5th generation towers.
Right. So we've got that. This website here, Bioinitiative 2012, article on just more evidence, 1,800 new studies, plenty of technical papers on radio frequency, electromagnetic fields damaging DNA, interfering with DNA repair, evidence of toxicity to the human genome, worrisome effects on the nervous system. And a lot of these studies focus on mobile phone base stations, wireless antenna facilities or cell towers, and also looking at hormonal impacts as well, fertility impacts, sperm quality and motility, sperm death, also female issues as well. So a lot of devices, a lot of possible problems.
Yeah.
Now, let's get into what you can do to mitigate that. So how to un-EMF your life. A lot of little things to focus on, be aware of, take a look at, try to change if you can. First off, wired headphones. Right there. Where's my wired headphones? Bam. Got a pair on my desk, and I keep a pair in my car. In case I get a phone call. If I get a phone call, instantly I'm putting these on because I'm not holding that phone next to my ear.
Yeah.
And no stupid wireless headphones. Just sitting right on your brain. I know Bluetooth is a fairly weak, from my understanding, it's a fairly weak device or field Bluetooth produces, but still.
There's quite a bit of research coming out now that it has a pretty direct impact on your thyroid. Thyroid glands.
Just right there.
Yeah.
3-4 inches away from your thyroid. Plus, way cheaper. What are AirPods, like $100?
Yeah, something like that.
Wild. Way cheaper. Way tougher to lose. People lose those tiny little AirPods all the time. Fall out of their ear and they lose them. Tougher to lose. Way cheaper. And easy, man. So, wired headphones. Get a few pairs. Wear them. If you don't have any wired headphones around and you get a call, put that on speakerphone. Use the speakerphone on your phone, or say you're out in public and you can't use the speaker, private conversation, whatever the case. If you do have to take a phone call, for even an inch, even holding that phone an inch away from your ear will help reduce the electrosmog, the pollution that your brain deals with.
When they use imaging, I believe that it can show, like, if you hold a cell phone up against your face and you have it there for a 10-minute phone call, that impacts that region of your dome for, I think it's like there you go.
Yeah.
It's like 2 to 4 hours.
Yep. No bueno.
Yep.
So even holding it like an inch away, which is enough to hear the conversation. Just turn the volume up, hold it a wee bit away. But yeah, so be smart with that cell phone. Also, when you're carrying it around, try not to carry it like, especially front pocket, right next to your nutsack, dudes, or your private bits. But if I'm walking around and I have to hold my phone on me, like walking into the store or whatever, I usually put it in my back pocket in front of my ass cheek, or if I have a bag or anything on me, put the cell phone in the bag. Although, say when you're driving a car, don't leave that cell phone in your pocket while you're driving. You're driving for a half hour, and that cell phone is right on your skin in your pocket. Take that phone out and put it on the passenger seat or in the center console or somewhere so it's not on your skin.
Yeah.
So
don't keep it in your bra, ladies.
Yeah, just try not to keep it on your person, on your skin, especially near any sensitive bits and parts. And then, so that's cell phones, Wi-Fi routers. In your home, keep those Wi-Fi routers away from your main living areas. So don't have that Wi-Fi router in your freaking master bedroom or living room. I mean, try to keep it as far away as you can so it still works, of course, but I mean, maybe even in the garage if you can, or some closet or somewhere.
Yeah.
The smart meter of the home, those smart meters. Freaking,
that's
what a crock of crap those are. And a lot of people don't even have a choice. But do your best to sleep on the opposite side of the house of where that smart meter is. And then if you have a smart meter right outside your bedroom, I mean, just maybe try to find a way to move that, see if they can, or just don't rent that house, or something to be aware of.
Yeah.
Or don't sleep in that room, sleep in another room. But yeah, smart meters, Wi-Fi routers away from living areas.
If you're building a home, you can put your main electrical panel smart meter away from your house. Like we have ours, it's probably like 200 yards away from our house, down in the corner of the property.
Oh,
and then
perfect.
we ran power from there up too.
Perfect.
So yeah.
Or instead of a Wi-Fi router, if you can, just Ethernet everything. So there's that. Turn your Wi-Fi router off at night. If you do have a Wi-Fi router, turn it off at night. There's 8-9 hours of EMF free, non-Wi-Fi, especially when you're sleeping. So they
what?
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say they make switches that you can plug into an outlet, and then you plug your router or whatever into the switch, and then it's controlled by a remote. So it's just an on-off switch that cuts the power. So you don't have to get up. Maybe you can just lay in bed, and then your lazy ass doesn't have to get up to go unplug or turn off the Wi-Fi router. You can just use the little clicker, boom, off, Wi-Fi off, go to bed. So there's ways to make it easy.
I was going to say, I don't even think that they're putting on-off switches on most routers anymore. I know when my kids were young, we were able to do that.
Oh yeah, they don't. You have to unplug the whole thing.
There you go. Like I've been trying to figure out how to do that since we got Starlink, because the dish is heated so that it doesn't ice up in the wintertime. And so how do I cut the Wi-Fi signal without cutting the heat to the dish? So I haven't figured it out.
Yeah. I'm just searching on Google real quick. I don't even know what to call it, but plug switch with remote. Oh yeah, it's something like this. Just wireless switch.
Use Bluetooth for your switch.
Remote control outlet. Yeah, I mean, better than Wi-Fi though, right? But it's not Bluetooth. It's just a little radio control.
Oh, okay.
Dongle majig, but this thing's what I'm talking about. So like one of these, it's just an outlet with an on-off switch. So
oh, that's cool.
Get one of those, plug your Wi-Fi router into that, and that way at night and in the morning you can just easily on off. No smart devices.
Yeah.
Your fridge doesn't need to be smart. Why do you have a smart microwave? I don't think we should really be using microwaves in the first place, but not only is your microwave emitting EMF radiation when you use it to heat up your food, but if it's smart, then what the heck? And especially watches. Watches, man.
Bad juju.
I secretly judge smart watches. I do. People that wear them.
I tried. I had one for a while, and every time I put it on, I don't know if it was just because of what I thought about smartwatches or if it was an actual response. But every time I put it on, I feel like I started feeling like crap within an hour.
Yeah.
I still have a brand new smartwatch sitting somewhere.
Cassia squad, where you at? Again, money, right? I only need a watch to just give me a number. Just tell me what time it is. $15. And these things are indestructible, man. Last me years. Versus $300 smartwatch. I don't need to have messages pinged to my wrist whenever I get them.
I tell you what I wanted was the data. You know, what's the heart rate doing, sleep quality, that sort of thing. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That'd be nice to be able to monitor, tie it back to certain activities.
I'll give you that. That is an interesting, that some of that information would be helpful, right? Yeah. Although, don't they make little rings?
Yeah.
These days,
the Aura ring, I think.
Yeah, even though those emitting EMF, but not as much as the smartwatch.
Yeah.
And I would rather have a ring on that is over smaller arteries on one finger rather than over a wrist that's over a much bigger artery. You have more blood going under a watch than you do a little ring.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, I mean, some of that health information is good, although, maybe wear it just one couple hours a week or something if you're doing it for the health info. One night a week or something like that to get your metrics, and then just don't wear it most of the time. But yeah, I mean, you're having an EMF emitting device under a radial nerve, under a major nerve, under a major artery, and all your blood's going right under that. So,
well, and then you have the whole, the energy meridians. If you look at, Chinese medicine, like I wonder what that is doing, having that device on there, what that does to chi. I don't know a lot about that type of medicine, but it's interesting.
Bioenergy, for sure. Carry phone off person. We already talked about that one. And then different devices that we encounter sometimes. Mammograms, TSA scanners, electric vehicles. There's ways if you need to get your breast checked, there's ways like thermography. There's other technologies out there that are up and coming that do not use the harsh EMF radiation like a mammogram does. So, shoot, we could do a whole show of MAHA Living diving into Susan G. Komen and the crock of shit that is Breast Cancer Awareness Month and Pink October. But I think the idea women are sold that they need to get a mammogram once a year, every year after the age of 30 or 40 or whatever, it's there's probably corruption involved in that advice.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But yeah, thermography, there's other ways to check things. And okay, maybe a mammogram every few years or 5 years, or just find other ways. TSA scanners, I highly suggest TSA pre-check if you fly often. It's like $80, lasts 5 years, and helps you go through the smaller lines at the airport, and you don't have to take anything off. You don't have to go through those scanners. You just go through a metal detector. So that, or you can opt out and get the pat down and get your let them get handsy with you, but do what you can to avoid those giant scanners. Electric vehicles, pretty bad.
I didn't even think about that aspect.
Yep. Sitting in a Tesla, you're just bathing. You're just bathing in electrosmog, electropollution. And those cars are, Wi-Fi or cell phone tower enabled, right? So they're transmitting, receiving a lot more data than your average dumb car. And then whatever electromagnetic radiation is being emitted by the electric battery itself. So electric vehicles. I've never sat in a Tesla. No, I take that back. I sat in one Tesla in 2018 for like 5 minutes, just going around the block. But other than that, I think that's the only time I've ever sat in an electric vehicle. But yeah, something to be aware of. Anything electric with big batteries, and especially if it transmits data. And then do your best to live away from 5G towers, Gwen towers, cell phone towers, those power lines, high voltage power lines, the substations, anything you can. I mean, at least like a quarter mile away. I'd give it like quarter mile, half mile, at least.
Yeah.
So. Then other ways to mitigate: earthing and grounding. Bare skin on the ground, absorb some of those free electrons from Mother Earth. Earthing, grounding, getting out into nature, hiking, camping, just away from the smog instead of our man-made electropollution. Get out and absorb some of those earth frequencies. Get away from all the crap.
And there are a number of different devices that people talk about using for helping to un-EMF your living space.
Yeah, so getting into that, I have seen some very, very expensive little devices out there. And hold on, give me just a sec. I've seen some very expensive things that are like hundreds and hundreds of dollars that companies sell, claiming to protect yourself from EMF with all these things. And I don't know about that. I wouldn't spend that much money on something like that. Although, you have shungite, right? So I sell little. I want to go grab one. Where do I have one? Here's one. On this old phone of mine I don't use anymore. Little shungite bricks. I actually hope this gets studied. I don't expect it will, but I hope shungite and various crystals get studied by our health agencies to maybe mitigate. A lot of this is anecdotal when it comes to shungite and it being able to mitigate EMF, but I have heard a lot of anecdotal evidence of shungite protecting people and organite pyramids. I used to sell organite pyramids on my website years ago, but those got too difficult to make and too expensive. But I still have shungite pendants and these little shungite bricks that you could put on your phone and Wi-Fi routers. And I've had testimony from a few people who said that they used to use their cell phone in their hands and their hand would ache after using their cell phone for a little while. And then after putting this shungite brick on their phone, their hand doesn't ache anymore from using their phone. So most of what I've heard is anecdotal. I don't think there's any like legit scientific evidence to support it, but you can understand why there might not be, or they've never studied it. But maybe, I'm a hippie out there. I'm a believer in crystals having some fascinating capabilities, although I wouldn't like bet my life on it or anything.
There's also EMF shielding paint, RF shielding paint. Those are a couple of different options if you wanted to try to tidy up your living space.
Oh yeah, you can. The clothing's becoming a big thing. EMF protecting clothing, like hoodies, and literal conspiracy theorist. Instead of wearing an aluminum foil hat, you're wearing a beanie that has copper or some kind of metals in it that help to basically create a Faraday cage around your head. Yeah, you can go that route, I suppose.
Well, I mean, because there's a lot of people that are, I wouldn't say stuck, but they are unable to move right away, living in an area where they know they're getting doused with this stuff. And so I'm sure that, I know people that would love to find a new space, but love where they live, and a tower went up. And so what can you do in those kinds of situations? And I wouldn't say break the bank, but throw everything you can at it.
Some of these do look like they break the bank.
Oh yeah, some of those devices that to shield a home. Oh, you're talking about this.
The clothing, $300, $180, EMF blocking hoodie.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff's pretty $300 for an EMF protecting hoodie.
Yeah, I was talking about the paint.
EMF shielding paint. 1 quart for $100. I don't know how much 1 quart would get you, but like, look at this. $1,200 for just a little coil of copper. Chi Shield Pro EMF protection. Like, that, some of it gets to be an absolute ripoff, but I think I sell my shungite bricks for like $30 or something like that. But anyway, oh, on that note, laptops, right? Don't put your laptop on your lap. Like, laptops right on your procreation parts, or right on your stomach, sitting there for hours with your laptop on your person. Yeah, not a good idea. Or if you do, they do make like EMF protecting little blankets. I have one actually, and so you can just put that kind of like protecting your stuff, getting an X-ray. Get a little EMF protecting blanket. Yeah, I think this is what I have right here. It's like one of those things. So that way, if you do have to use your laptop on your lap, you can just put a little blanket over your parts and use it that way.
Interesting.
And then, any other ideas, man?
No, I think that about does it.
Any other ideas on how to EMF your life? Yeah, at the end of the day, there's a heck of a lot we just don't know when it comes to electromagnetic radiation, but I think common sense would have it, given that our world literally revolves around electromagnetic radiation. Everything is magnetic in some form. Life itself emits bioenergy. We do. Our DNA, our nervous system, everything about us is based on electricity. And our organs, our heart, our brain emits their own electromagnetic fields. If we have up these giant towers and all these devices around us that emit EMF radiation, logic would have it that there is going to be some kind of effect on us. Our brains, our hormones, our sleep cycles, our thoughts, our anxiety, our organs, our heart, etc. So
it would be, it's kind of neat to think about if EMFs can impact us in a negative way, then there's also probably the flip side where they can certain EMF, I'm sure, can be healing or promote healing in a positive way. So maybe there's a way in our future that we can utilize our technology and how we power devices and utilize devices to actually promote a healthy environment versus the opposite.
Yeah, whether it be like RFK said, getting the pulse rates at a specific frequency where at least it doesn't harm us, but maybe even there's, healing technologies out there, i.e. Royal Rife and others who, you could sort of make target resonances. And then, I mean, honestly, I would love to have some kind of frequency device publicized where, like I said, my vision sucks. And I don't want to get LASIK because I don't want them to have to make an incision in my cornea. And I would just, my dream is to have some frequency device come out to the public where they could just shoot a freaking resonance into my eyeball and I have perfect vision again. But
there's actually something that just came out, a big study that just came out. It was found by accident. I wish I could remember exactly what it was, but it was something similar to that. It caused like a rapid deformation of the eye, but when it came back, it was like LASIK, but without the surgery.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, big.
I would do unspeakable things to have that. But anyway, 100%. I mean, maybe we'll do another show on Royal Rife and healing with it, but here again, scope of this show is effects of EMF, and at least the infrastructures and communication systems we've been using for 50, 60, 70 years, there's problems there. There's big problems. And as we've covered, there is huge financial incentive, even more than pharma, even more than the food and pharma industry. Huge financial incentive to keep us on the old paradigm of technology that is not so good for us. Not so good. And you can imagine there will be some special interests, some companies and groups of our world that will be very upset at RFK Jr. if and when the FDA starts coming out with studies and research talking about the harms of EMF and maybe even regulating the devices that we use to protect us. So crazy times, man. Yeah, I didn't realize the telecommunication industry was that big.
Yeah.
But I should have. So, all right, guys, that finishes it up for episode 2 here of MAHA Living. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure you like this video, subscribe here on Badlands, and go follow, go check out the next show. Premiering on Badlands here. We'll be back on Friday for MAHA News, the live show at 4 p.m. Eastern, Friday here on Badlands. So we'll see you guys then.
Slightly. This lotion changes people.
My knuckles would actually start to crack. Started using the soft disclosure lotion, and I am very impressed. Even within just a few days, I've noticed a tremendous difference.
That's not a script. That's what happens when something actually works.
It puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Yeah, that line keeps coming up. Because when you don't use it, your skin starts acting up.
Every single ingredient in soft disclosure is intentionally chosen. There's no filler ingredients. It is not like this BS product where they have a bunch of ingredients. Every ingredient listed is for a purpose.
Over 65-star reviews for the lotion alone. Not influencers, not actors, just people whose skin finally shut up. Soft disclosure lotion. Once you try it, you'll understand why people won't stop talking about it. Visit softdisclosure.com and use code Badlands and get 10% off.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.